All right, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is TJ, your host of the Conscious Health Podcast, personal trainer, author, and someone who is just willing to help out a lot of people by spreading the good news of how we can expand our abilities to be more mindful about ourselves and how we can build more muscle. So today's podcast or video, however you're listening to this or viewing this, is all about how to consistently build muscle and lose fat. So I'm going to go over some of the things that I've done to be able to do this consistently. Now, why should you listen to me on this topic? Well, I've read plenty of books. I have a lot of personal experience where I play around with different things, and I have for years. So what is going to work best for me? So hopefully what works good for me can also work good for you. Although a lot of those things are probably going to need to be tweaked, as each person is just going to have to experiment on their own. But I'm going to share with you what I've done. And I've also, of course, trained a lot of people. So I've helped a lot of people be able to figure out their own formula of how to gain muscle and lose fat at the same time. So yes, it is possible. So first off, I want to go over what the mental attitudes I had to take on in order to get to where I'm at today, to be able to consistently be healthy, to be the best man in the room. And because everything we do in our life always starts with our thoughts. So anything physical we do, any action we take always starts up in our mind. So let's talk about the mentalities that I had to adapt and to take on as I got older and matured and built muscle and lost fat. So just as most people start when they start putting on muscle or losing fat, or at least just wanting to do that but haven't started, it's all about looks. So people, of course, want to look better because they feel insecure about themselves. So I had insecurities about myself about 8 years ago before I seriously started lifting, and I was very underweight. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed about my body. And I realized later on that actually those insecurities never went away no matter how much muscle I put on. And that was a mental thing that I had to work on and do the inner work for with meditation and other different practices. But exercise helped me to not necessarily get rid of the insecurity because I got bigger, but it helped me to get rid of the insecurity because it helped me to build confidence in who I was and the fact that I am valuable no matter what weight I am. So that is something to always remember with yourself, is that you are made out of the essence of life. So you're valuable no matter what, no matter how much muscle you have. Once you realize how much of a miracle it is that you're even a human being that's on earth right now, and that you can do all these different biological processes, you realize your worth is immense, and it doesn't matter how big you are. So with that being said, when you realize that, it's a lot more helpful as you start going the exercise path, realizing, okay, I can let go of my insecurities because I'm already worth it, I'm already valuable, no matter how fat I am, no matter how little muscle I have. And so once you realize this, it's a lot more helpful to start to exercise, realizing your true worth. And so another thing too is when you build muscle and consistently lose fat, you have to put away the quick dopamine rushes of eating junk and processed foods, because of course you're going to have to adapt a mostly, if not all, whole food diet if you really want to see consistent results and be all around healthy. So this means putting away a lot of those quick little dopamine rushes that you don't even realize you're getting from high sugar foods, high salt foods, high sat foods, candy, chips, all that stuff, all that processed foods, because it is a addictions embedded within most of us, especially here in America, where people like me, I've even grown up eating a lot of processed food because that was what was affordable, and that was the societal norm. So you have to give away a lot of those quick dopamine pleasures. And so the mindset you need to realize here is that you're going to have to give up a lot of quick pleasures for results that are going to take a longer time to get. So that dopamine is put back a little bit. You're going to have to wait for that little hit of dopamine. You're going to get it later, and it's going to be a lot more worth it because you'll have actual results. So that's a mindset I had to have. Realize that I had to give up a lot of quick little pleasures for long-term results and just feeling better about myself. So you're putting off instant gratification for genuine results. Also realize you're doing all this for not just for you, but for your family and your friends. So think about the people around you. Think about maybe the eating habits they may have, or different habits that they have that maybe don't serve them very well. And realize that when you become a better woman or man or whatever, you are also sharing the example with others. So when you do things like go to the gym consistently, you start to eat healthy, you say no to all those sweet treats in the holidays, then people will start to see that, and they realize like, oh wow, this is a changed person right here. And so your healthy habits will start to reflect onto others, and you will be an inspiration for many other people. So realize that this journey is not just for you, but it's for many other people around you in your circles. Lastly, another mindset that I had to adopt is the fact that no matter how many goals I set, and I still set goals, I'm not saying that goals are not important, they are. But no matter how many goals I set, I realize that it's all about the journey to the goals. It's so if you have a goal of losing 10 pounds of fat in a month or two, whatever it is, and you get there, that is not a bad thing. It's a great thing. It's wonderful. And goals are great signposts in life. But as you go through these goals, you realize that there will never be enough goals to where you're actually ever going to feel fully fulfilled. That's the thing, is because it's about realizing the joy of the journey, the joy of becoming a better person, and realizing it's all about evolution, and that evolution does not end. And I don't want to get too philosophical here, but if you believe in eternal life, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But even if you believe that you die once your body stops working, then either way, you'll see this as a lifelong evolutionary process. So realize that the joy is in the process itself, not just getting another goal. But goals are great. Still set goals, short-term, long-term goals, personal records, all that stuff. But realize the true joy is being present in the moment and being a part of the journey every step of the way. All right, so now that we got some of the mindsets shared here, then we can start to utilize these thought processes for the physical processes. So what do we have to do to start to maintain and gain muscle and to lose fat? So I want to talk about calories. So it's important to build caloric awareness. We can do that through counting calories. So counting calories can be as simple as actually manually counting all of them and looking at each label. I think regardless whether you're counting calories or not, it's good to look at labels to at least get an estimate of how many calories you get each day. And realize, of course, that each food with its calorie count is going to be give or take 25% off of what it actually is. But it's not so much about getting down to the nitty gritty, every little calorie, but it's about realizing, okay, this fried food compared to this grilled chicken breast, is the caloric count might be different. Or the caloric count of these chocolate chip cookies versus this apple is going to be different. And so you're going to have to start building awareness of how many calories you're actually intaking every day. And that means calories of everything you eat. So no cheating. Remember, if you're lying to a personal trainer or yourself, then it's you you're damning yourself in your own process here. So make sure you're honest about your calories. You can use MyFitnessPal. I've used the free version for years. It still tells me my calories and my macros. You can also do the paid version. I'm sure it's really great. But I've used the free version. Now, when I talk about calorie counting, because it can be quite a chore, worth it, yes, but it can be quite a chore. And it's not something I ever actually recommend to clients as a long-term process. It's maximum maybe 3 months, if that. And that even then, I don't think I've ever actually had a client do 3 months. I've done 3 months myself, though. And so it's a great way to build awareness how many calories you're intaking, because that is good to know if you're going to start recomping or building muscle and burning fat at the same time. And so you're going to have to experiment with what is going to work best with you. Now, along with calorie counting and becoming more aware of your calories, you will want to buy a scale. So, of course, any scale that you pick up is not going to be 100% accurate, but the big thing here is consistency. So, for example, I have a $30 smart scale from Amazon that works great. And yes, even though it's probably not going to be 100% accurate of exactly how much body fat and how much muscle I have, I at least stay consistent and use that 1 day a week. So, for example, Saturday mornings, before I've eaten anything, before I drink anything, after I've used the restroom, this is a great way to get an estimate of your dry body weight without anything in you. So be consistent with whatever you pick. Yes, it's not going to be completely accurate, but be consistent. So that way you can experiment, and see, okay, what works, what doesn't work. Maybe I'm taking too many calories, maybe I'm not taking enough, whatever it is. And so use a scale to be consistent to see what is going to work best for you. And so that's what I do, along with caloric awareness and occasionally counting calories. So it's not a long-term thing. It's a short-term thing to help you build awareness. So along with calorie counting, you want to be aware of macros. So what are macronutrients? Anything you eat is going to be a protein, a carb, or a fat. But I want to focus on protein. So an ideal protein intake is anything from 0.7 grams to 1 gram per pound of goal body weight. So for example, you're 150 pounds, but you want to be 200 pounds of mostly lean mass, then you would shoot for, give or take, 200 grams of protein a day, which yes is a lot, but let's talk about why we should intake a lot of protein, or at least adequate amounts of protein. So protein thermodynamically is a macronutrient that it takes calories for us to actually process and to burn. So it keeps our metabolism high. Protein also keeps us satiated for a long time, keeps us full. So it prevents us from overeating carbs or fats, which is very nice. So for example, you can imagine right now eating a hard-boiled egg compared to some potato chips. You're probably gonna end up eating way more calories of potato chips than you are an egg, because the egg is more satiating with protein. So protein is very helpful. It also is made of amino acids, which is what our muscles are made out of. So it's very simple. Eat enough protein and you will be putting on muscle, assuming you're also doing the adequate strength training and resistance training you need to do. So carbs and fats, I just play around with that. Again, you can use MyFitnessPal to lick your macros. I keep both of them at a pretty moderate level. These days I do a little slightly lower fats and slightly higher carbs, but I've also done the other way around. So you just got to experiment with what is going to work best. Again, going back to using a scale to see what gets you results and what doesn't. And what might put on more fat, what might put on less. So a lot of this is experimentation, but I'm giving you guys the guidelines here, what you can use and shoot for to be able to help you to experiment best. So we've talked about macros. Let's talk about what physical things we got to do other than eating. So of course, of course I'd be crazy not to talk about water. So just make sure you drink enough water. That also helps muscle growth. Also helps keep you satiated. Dehydration is not good and can make you overeat. And so make sure you drink enough water. And what I recommend to clients is basically looking at the color of your urine. So if it's on the lighter side, you're doing good. If it's on the darker side, you need more. And that's a pretty sure-proof way to make sure you're getting enough water and hydrating enough. So let's talk about weightlifting and calisthenics. So how do you know which one to do? Because if you've seen my YouTube channel or my podcast, you know I do a mix of calisthenics and weightlifting. For me, it depends partially on the day. It also depends partially on finances. So let's say you can't afford a gym membership right now. Then that's completely okay. Maybe calisthenics is going to be your thing, where you can buy a $40, $50 little pull-up bar that you can set up at your home. You can use that. You can buy little dumbbells. You can work out at home. You can work out in the backyard. You can go to a park. Use the monkey bars as a pull-up bar. You can do push-ups. You can do sit-ups. You can do bodyweight squats. So there's a lot of different calisthenics things that you can do that will certainly help you to gain muscle. But let's say you're able to afford a gym or afford weights. Then of course you can also do that. So both weights and calisthenics are very helpful for putting on weight, and whichever one you decide to use is going to be up to you and what you can be consistent with and what you can afford. So they both have their pros and cons. Nice thing about weights is that you can add more weight when you need what's called progressive overload. So progressive overload is something that you will have to implement whether you do calisthenics or weightlifting. Progressive overload is simply the fact that if you do 10 push-ups a day for a month, then even though it may have started out very difficult, by the end of that month, 10 push-ups is going to be super easy. So of course you'll need to start doing 11, 12, 13. And you'll need to progressively challenge yourself with either more weight, more reps, more sets, whatever it's going to be. So that's called progressive overload. Make sure you're always challenging yourself. And you also want to get yourself close to failure. So maybe you've heard of this term lately because it has been something that's been going around more, but you want to get yourself close to or even at complete failure. And I mean, when I say complete failure, I mean you cannot do another rep with good form of whatever exercise you're doing. So for example, if you're doing bench press, you do a set of 10 reps, you get to the 8th rep and you barely get it up, you get to the 9th rep and you can't get it up at all and you have to rack it, that would be you going to complete failure. And so you want to get close to that point or at that point, because then it signals to your body, okay, it's time to build more muscle. It's time to adapt to this challenge right here. And so that's really what resistance training is you're adapting yourself, making life a little harder so you can grow a little stronger. And of course, burn fat. So using all of these different modalities will help to bring you results. And a lot of it is consistency. A lot of it is patience. This won't happen overnight, although there is something called newbie gains. So if you're listening to this and you have little to no experience of lifting, and you've started to watch my videos, listen to the podcast or whatever, and you're motivated to do it, thankfully there is something called newbie gains where it's because you're newer to it, your body's actually going to adapt very quickly and you will see some results very quickly. The trickier part is to just stick through it even after that and to keep building muscle and to keep losing fat, but being consistent with it and realize that hopefully this isn't something you just do for a few months and go right back to your old life. Your old life is done. Starting right now, if you're really serious about this, you've got to make that change and say, this is my new life. My old life is dead to me, and it's time to become a better person and to lose the body fat that comes with a lot of complications like higher risk of diabetes and heart disease. And I don't want that for anyone. I don't want that for me. So that's why my old life of eating Cinnamon Toast Crunch for breakfast and processed meat for lunch and a ton of bread and a ton of crackers and a ton of chips, all that's over for me now, because you realize that it's just no longer worth it to live in that comfort, but to put off the dopamine, to eat mostly whole foods, become aware of what's going to your body, and realizing some things you may be eating is edible poison. And so a lot of this is about awareness, just becoming aware of what you can do to challenge your physical body and to feed it the right nutrients, the right foods it needs. And so, yes, it can be difficult. Yes, it requires a lot of patience. Yes, it requires a lot of consistency. And sometimes doing the same thing over and over. But if you don't believe me, you can go and see the results for yourself, get your own scale, and do all the things I talked about. And you'll be able to learn for yourself what is going to work best and how you're going to feel the best, even if it means putting off that quick dopamine rush of just sitting and scrolling all day and eating junk food. So anyway, I hope that a lot of this has resonated with you. And if you feel like this has a lot of value for you, feel free to subscribe or to like or do whatever it is that gets this on the algorithm more, so we can help more people to become more conscious of their health and to expand their muscle mass and their mindfulness of themselves. And if you have found value in this and you want to learn more, then I have a book out for $9.99, and it's basically a 100-page book with things I used to charge a lot of money for clients. It's full of information that most trainers will probably charge you $1,000 for, where you can just read it for less than $10, and you'll be able to learn all sorts of things I've taught clients, I've learned myself, that have helped me to be 50 pounds of muscle heavier than I was several years ago. So anyway, this is value for you. I'm just make sure that you do what you can to help others and to learn more for yourself and to become the best person that you can be. Thank you for tuning in today, guys, on the Conscious Health Podcast or my YouTube channel or whatever it is you're consuming this on. I hope you have a wonderful, amazing day. We'll see you.